check out this pretty crazy cabin we have in the Polestar 4. This is wild. It's actually taken me the whole week to really get used to this entire space here, and there's a lot to talk about. So let's first start with our driver zone right in front of us over here. So I am a huge fan of this steering wheel. It's really, really nice, actually. Holding it's really great. You have a lot of great touch points on the steering wheel. I think the shapes are really fantastic as well. I love to see this in every single Polestar down the road. It's a great steering wheel design. Around it is a lot of crazy stuff here. So we have driver monitoring here, as well as over here. This is something you typically see in like the Chinese markets, actually. So again, Chinese kind of focused vehicle, 96% parts content from there. So even though it's built in South Korea, you're getting a lot of interesting components in the vehicle. You have a lot of ambient lighting all around you, like I mentioned, and at night, it really shines through. Really impressive. We'll get to that in just a second here. But the controls for this vehicle are pretty crazy. I'm going to put my seatbelt on. Even though we're parked, it does like to do a lot of chimes when I turn the vehicle on. And you do that by putting it into drive or reverse. So popping into drive, for example, will really put it into its full drive ready mode here. Battery level low, we do have to charge the car as well. But now you can get a little bit of a cool sense of how these buttons on the steering wheel work, because it's actually pretty crazy. So on the right hand side over here, we have a few different controls. We can control our voice assistant or just say, hey Google. So you have two different ways to do that. And you can use these displays buttons over here to control our digital cluster. So here, if I press this, we can change it from a map view. We can change it to this kind of display view over here, which kind of shows you all the cars around you as you're driving. And we have this more cleaner view right here. Now, if I press this button, it's going to open up a whole menu. So I could actually go into this menu here and adjust my steering wheel, my mirrors, my heads-up display adjustment, all from this menu here, which is actually a pretty nice touch. Or I can also see my trip information right here, or I can see my range values. So I can make it either certified, standard, which is the EPA ratings, or a more dynamic estimation, and change my speed units if I need to right there as well. That's pretty much all you can do from this side over here. You can also use these buttons when the screen goes away as your volume up and down and track left and right. So that's something you kind of have to remember, because that doesn't really always say that. And that's another thing that happens on this side. So we have our pilot assist, or kind of, adaptive cruise control systems over here. And this is how you can adjust your distance. But these buttons also become a quick access for your regen. So it can adjust regen, so 1, 2, or off, or you can have it just coast. And this is your performance mode here. So if I press this, it's performance mode on or off. Otherwise, these become adjustments for your pilot assist controls, or your radar adaptive cruise control. So that's something you definitely would have to get used to getting into the vehicle. It's pretty quick. It also took me the week. And a stock over here for our windshield wipers. I like when you rotate that, it brings up a menu over here. You can see off, auto, 1 times, 3 times, and we have a more normal button right here just to put out the windshield wiper fluid. Automatic high beams as well. I do have to activate that every single time I get in the vehicle, I've noticed. We also do have we don't have a rear wiper because there's no rear window, which is interesting because you would think they would have a cleaning solution for this rear camera, but it honestly never really got dirty in the rain. In a car wash, it always kind of stayed clean, which is pretty interesting. And you have a lot of adjustments here since you don't have that rear view, or you don't have that rear window at all. So you can adjust the height of this. You can turn on the automatic function, so it'll automatically tilt down for reverse, for example, digitally, or it'll automatically tilt left or right when I put the blinker on. So if I put my blinker on right there, you can see the camera actually tilts to give you a better view of either side, around me, behind me, which is pretty cool of a feature, I think, actually. Putting it back into park here, just so we're in place. Now we can talk about the rest of this cabin, but there's really not much to talk about button-wise because there are no buttons really. We do have normal window controls here, which are great. Lock, unlock over here, a normal release for our door. That's all pretty fine, but the whole center console is completely devoid of buttons. That's a Polestar thing, but this is a really spacious interior. I have so much room in here to really just stretch out. It feels like a significantly larger vehicle than the Polestar 2's cabin, and you can see that already from this center console space over here. It's very well trimmed. The quality in here is actually fantastic. Everything's very, very solid. It feels like a proper European built vehicle in that sense, but you get this huge center console space over here that Polestar sells a few different accessories, actually, such as like a little trash bin or additional cup holders you can put down here because it's that tall. So you can actually add that into your vehicle, but otherwise it's just a huge storage space down here just to throw things in. Very nice, actually soft carpeting on the side panel over here. And on this upper portion, which is all ambient lit at night, which is pretty cool, is this aluminum trim, which feels quite nice and cool to the touch. And opening that up reveals two pretty large cup holders actually. And we have a little volume knob here, which is also illuminated at night. It's a nice tactile clicking sound to it as well. We do have a wireless charging mat over here, which is not good. It overheats my phone and never really charges it, so I don't use it, but you do have a wireless charging mat here as well. And you're going to notice all the air vents in the vehicle, from this giant center one to the ones on the dash, don't have any physical control, so we have to control that from this giant screen. So we'll get to that in a second. We have this large armrest in the center here. Honestly, this could be a little bit squishier. It's actually quite on the hard end, but very solid feeling, which is nice. Opening this up reveals a felt-aligned center console storage space with 2 USB-C ports as well in there, which is nice. And thankfully we do still have a glove box, though you do have to open it from the display, and it is huge and completely felt-aligned, so I do like to see that, which is pretty nice. All this is this nice kind of soft touch material in this cabin. You really don't have any exposed hard plastics, honestly, like anywhere, which is pretty nice. So overall impressions of quality in here is great. And now, since everything is pretty much controlled from this display, we got to talk about it because it's interesting and pretty intense of a whole process in here. So in this display, you really have your whole command structure for everything in here. This bottom bar will always be for your climate controls in the center portion, as you can see, so you can quickly adjust your temperature just like that, or open up the full climate menu over here as well, so you can adjust things like your fan speed in here. And now if you want to go and adjust all of your vents, you really do have to go into this kind of display over here and then go into that, and you know, let's see if I can do it right now. If I do up here, yeah, you have to actually turn on that zone, then you can adjust your vent direction speed. It's kind of a little bit of a mess, I'm not gonna lie here. It's a little clunky to use while driving, but that's because you really just got to put it in auto and got to let the car do it at the end of the day. If you really want to go in here and make a lot of manual adjustments, it does take a little bit of time, I won't lie. You have an eco mode here as well as a few different settings that you would normally have. But I will note, as a driver, kind of reaching this stuff is a little bit far. It's quite far away. I wish they could kind of move that closer to me. I think that would be really nice. There is also a mode that I for some reason don't see right now, where it actually allows you to put the air to you or away from you automatically, so it'll just move the vents, but for some reason that's not popping up right now. It was earlier this week. But we also have some parking settings. So we have like an animal mode here for pets, so you can have the car stay on for pets, or I guess kids are in the vehicle. And we have a pretty good air quality sensor that can quick clean the cabin as well in this particular one. But they really do want you to just use the automatic systems here and just not have to worry about it. Obviously, you can just turn off your climate controls right there. And our heated seats and steering wheel are separate from the actual climate menu here. So you can always quickly access that whenever you do need to, which is great. Graphics in here are, I think, really fantastic. So these really cool graphics for your suspension, showing you what everything's doing. Same thing with, like steering feel, for example, and even your regen and power delivery and all that stuff. But it's just a lot of menu. Now, also in the screen, this is your kind of home menu view over here. You can have Google Maps is always going to be here just like this. You can make it full screen by swiping that over there, or you can kind of have this split widget view over here, which I believe is customizable. You have some shortcuts, Apple CarPlay, for example, your ambient light, but you also have a full app drawer menu over here. This is how you can access things like your full trip meter, and it never really allows you to go in a full display, which I think is a little silly. So you always have to have like this map view here. And again, as a driver, some of this is really far away to reach if you want to access it. So you really got to lean in here. You also have the Google Play Store, so you can kind of download whatever apps you want. But we do have this little Polestar icon here, which brings up a whole other menu. So you have this favorite bar over here that you can customize. So right now I have things like lane keep assist, or sport mode, or performance mode, one pedal drive settings, light controls, all that stuff. But of course I can access a lot of that from these little menus over here. But you also have another kind of quick access page just to bring you to a lot more stuff. So if I press adjustments, it brings me to like that steering wheel, mirror, and head-up display adjustments that I can access from this display, for example. But I can also adjust the seats from here if I don't want to use the physical dials we have over here. And then you have your ambient light controls over here, which Polestar, this is actually really cool. Polestar does it in planets. So we have our planets, the sun, earth, and that is your ambient light color. And I believe if I switch them like this, you can kind of swipe through them. You have a little Polestar 6 flying through, which is kind of funny. But you can adjust the ambient light color in here, which is great. Lighting controls for exterior, screen brightness, glove box controls, all of that's baked into this menu. I have found this to be overall a little confusing. And I'm not the biggest fan of just how far things are away from me as a driver, especially this favorite bar. I wish that could be like closer to me. It's a little bit of a far reach, even if I'm, customizing it. It's a little bit funky of a situation here. And I found myself a little bit this week of just getting lost in these menus if I wanted to go and change like my drive modes. It takes a little bit of some time to go into here because, modes is not your drive modes here. As you can see, it goes to those like weird little animal modes there. If you want to go to those, you got to go to drive. And this is where you can then adjust your suspension, which, the graphics in here are, I think, really fantastic. So these really cool graphics for your suspension, showing you what everything's doing. Same thing with, like steering feel, for example, and even your regen and power delivery and all that stuff. But it's just a lot of menu hopping to go through. And the voice assistant doesn't do any of this stuff. So if I say, hey, Google, switch to performance mode,
sorry, I don't understand.
it doesn't have access to any of the stuff in the system. So if you're going to put everything in the screen, Polestar, I really wish the Google Assistant, for example, would be able to kind of access some of these menus to use it by voice, because sometimes making these physical adjustments on the screen is just a little bit clunky. I love the graphical displays in here are fantastic. It's really crystal clear. They really do everything very well in that regard. But accessing this for a first-time user is definitely a big learning curve, I would say. The sound system's okay in here. The Harman Kardon upgraded system. There's surround adjustments here. Zones as well. I could actually just mute all different zones in the vehicle, which is pretty cool. With an equalizer, volume adjustments for everything as well. And again, all of the settings menu in the vehicle are pretty well laid out. And I love all of the graphics in here. It really does help you to make all these adjustments a little bit easier. It's just, again, getting into some of these deeper menus, it is quite a hassle in that regard. And Apple CarPlay actually works well. This is the largest Apple CarPlay I think I have ever seen in any vehicle. I could be wrong, there may be a larger one, but it is huge. It takes up this entire display. I really haven't had any issues of the wireless connectivity with that this week whatsoever. And it integrates pretty well with the vehicle. And then, like Waze or Apple Maps, for example, will show up in our digital cluster up here as well, which is really great. We do have a pretty large heads-up display as well. It doesn't show too much information, but it is nice to have pretty crystal clear. But overall, this is definitely a learning curve. If you're coming from like a Tesla or something, yeah, it's nice to have this display, like a Model Y. You don't have that. But this software and stuff, while it does work, it's pretty responsive, it's pretty quick. The screen is definitely a lot to get used to if you're not familiar already with the Polestar interface. We also do have a notification bar up here, pretty good access with our driver profiles as well. And we have a fantastic 360 camera system. This vehicle has like 11 cameras around you, and that's a great thing because this car has no rear window once again. But we have a pretty good 360 view, as you can see right here around the vehicle, which I would expect to see. We also have a lot of great adjustments here. So we have these really great side angle views over here, as you can see, since we have so many cameras around the vehicle. And thankfully, they make it really easy to do to access this and adjust all of the cameras and settings and things. So that's really great to see. You have a lot of different settings here, so I can make the vehicle turn on all these things. So I can make the vehicle transparent when I do that 360 mode, for example. So it makes it even a little bit even more easy to see through it. And I believe if I turn on the turn signal, it should show up in this screen up here. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So good graphics on this, and with the animations of real world examples of the vehicle there. So yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in here, and you can hear the turn signal sound actually is the sound of a Swedish stick braking. And I like how the turn signals actually play on either side of the vehicle. So on the right side, it plays in that speaker. The left blinker turns on that speaker right there. So pretty interesting stuff. Otherwise, in this cabin, we don't actually have too much other stuff. We have some more ambient lighting up here. We do have a few buttons and switches for our lights and things. But again, we don't have any control for our roof because this is not the electrochromatic option. So it's always fully transparent, as you can see right here. Our mirrors are pretty big though, LED lit, which is nice. Do they slide back? They don't. And we don't have a little extension here to cover up this whole side piece of glass there. So that's something to take in mind. But overall, very well built cabin. It's incredibly quiet in here, very solid. I love the steering wheel. The driving position's all great. You have a lot of adjustments in here and all that fun stuff. Software, and the whole interface, you got to sit down with your like a Polestar representative or someone who's familiar with these vehicles. Maybe even watch some of these videos if you have a chance. But it definitely takes a time to get used to it, to learn it, and to become comfortable with it. And there are still some things that I think need to be worked out, especially like how far some of this stuff is from me as a driver. And I did have an instance this week where all these little contextual buttons, as they call them here, like our regen, for example, and all these menus just wouldn't work. It would click, but the menu wouldn't work. So there are some still things to be worked out. We have over there software updates coming. Hello everyone, you join us in the Polestar 4 and it does have a software update. So I might as well show you guys how that process works while we have the vehicle, because this car is quite advanced. So we'll go over to our Polestar little icon here. We'll go to our settings. It did just pop up and unfortunately just disappeared for a second. So we're gonna have to go back and find it. And yeah, system software updates here. And it just said it had one, so yes. Okay, so we have P4 4.2.11. I don't believe this is a significant update though. So if I press the release notes here, it'll take me to a sort of web browser style release notes section here. And yes, software update provides general improvements. Okay, so there's nothing new here, but maybe it's a bug fixer. So we'll press install and yeah. Oh, we got to get out of here. So we got to lock the vehicle, get out, and it will start to install. We also are getting our own little secondary screen back here. And it is a small little display. We have 2 air vents above it, which is nice, and 2 USB-C ports. One of them, I believe, is 60-watt USB-C, which is pretty nice. And this little display really is just meant to control our climate, but it has a few other functions in here. So you can see I can actually turn on the interior illumination in here, which is pretty nice. So you can do that through this screen. There's even a settings panel over here for our display brightness, and you can auto dim it. This is all for this one little display, which is pretty crazy. Then you can see what tracks you're playing with your music. You can go to like the cue of the music as well, adjust the volume, forward, track, verse, seat controls here for memory adjustments, pretty crazy stuff. And we have seat heating. I'm sorry, this is seat heating, not memory, but we do have seat heating adjustments there, and we can control that recline function from this little display as well. There's a lot of stuff jam-packed in this tiny little display back here, which is honestly pretty cool to see. But yeah, this is a really unique rear space.